Police in Winter Park, Florida have identified all the people in connection with the death of a 15-year-old boy. Roger Trindade was found unconscious after a reported fight, dying in the hospital 2 days later. Police have also confirmed minors were involved, but haven't made any arrests. In a press conference, Chief Michael Deal says investigators still don't know the exact cause of the teen's death, given that the victim had few signs of physical trauma. The medical examiner's office is expected to help shed light on the cause of death in the coming weeks, which could be a deciding factor on whether any criminal charges will be filed.
In about an hour and a half, 2 teenagers will stand before a judge here at the Orange County Juvenile Justice Center in Orlando. In fact, 3 teenagers were arrested yesterday as it relates to the death of Winter Park High School student Roger Trindade, nearly 2 months after his death. The Orange County medical examiner ruled Roger Trindade's death a homicide as a result of blunt force trauma. 2 15-year-olds are charged with manslaughter and battery. A 14-year-old is charged with tampering with the witness. Now, we're not naming the boys because they are minors. Winter Park police say Trindade died after an October 15th altercation along Park Avenue in Winter Park. Detectives say they've known who's been involved in the fight, but we're waiting for the medical examiner's conclusion before making an arrest.
In this report obtained by WESH 2, the coroner ruled that 15-year-old Roger Trindade died as a result of blunt force trauma, a homicide. This diagram shows the location of bruising to the right side of the boy's face. The coroner goes on to conclude that due to the trauma, the Winter Park High student, who last year moved here with his family from Brazil, likely suffered a tear to an artery in his neck. That, in turn, caused fatal bleeding in his brain. In her report, the coroner also notes that the boy's heart and liver were harvested. In the wake of this tragedy, Trindade's family had chosen to save the lives of others by donating some of Roger's vital organs. Based on these findings, 3 teens were arrested and charged. One of them, a 15-year-old, allegedly bragged to friends about knocking Trindade to the ground with a knockout blow.
They were saying that it was an incident, but it wasn't. We all knew that he was beaten to death.
Justice for Roger! This past weekend, there was a Justice for Roger march in downtown Winter Park. A family friend says the victim's family is frustrated. It took 7 weeks before any arrests were made.
A small step toward justice for those who knew Roger Trindade.
Not seeking revenge, but this is a way of closure for the family. I think they deserve to see some justice done.
June 2nd will be a deposition for the 2 15-year-olds charged with manslaughter. Their trial date is tentatively set for August 17th and 18th. June 2nd will also be the day the 14-year-old who entered a no-contest plea on witness tampering and simple battery will learn his fate.
Is he going to testify against the other 2 teens?
If he's called to testify, he'll have to comply with any subpoena, but no agreement has been made for him to testify, nor has he indicated he's going to testify at this point.
Back in January, a judge released the teens to home detention with electronic monitoring.
Today, all 3 of the teens charged in connection with Roger Trindade's death had their cases pushed back to June.
But the victim's family told Channel 9's Field Sutton they're frustrated to see their son's accused killers spending 2 more months outside of a jail cell.
Roger Trindade's family was hoping to see at least one person punished for his part in what happened last October. 14-year-old Jagger Gouda has already pleaded no contest to both battery and witness tampering charges, but now his punishment has been pushed back to coincide with his co-defendants' delayed cases.
The trial is now set for August 17th.
Family friends standing in for Roger Trindade's parents watched lawyers and a DCF worker speak softly for 10 minutes today, quietly telling a judge why this case should be delayed. After that quick hearing, Marlene Nascimento told Trindade's mom she'll have to wait at least 2 more months.
She's frustrated, she's sad because time in the court is a very different time for a mother, that lost her child.
In January, we told you 14-year-old Jagger Gouda pleaded guilty to battery and witness tampering. He's accused of masterminding the bizarre prank in downtown Winter Park that led to Trindade's beating death. Simeon Hall and Jesse Sutherland, both 15 years old and facing manslaughter charges, will need to decide by June whether they're making pleas of their own or going to trial.
Hopefully, justice will be served, and she'll find some closure in her heart, for her son, too.
Today, the judge told the lawyers she's done with delays. All three of these co-defendants are still being tried under juvenile laws and rules, so there are limits to what can be done here in terms of punishment. If they end up going to prison, they can only be held until they're 19 years old.
A second teen accused of the beating death of a Winter Park High School student has been charged as an adult.
Anybody over 14 can be charged as an adult for manslaughter, and they did it just in the nick of time because Sutherland was scheduled in juvenile court to go to trial next month. Mr. Sutherland, anything to say about your son's new charges? The father of Jesse Sutherland had nothing to say as he left his son's first appearance. Benjamin Sutherland went in front of a judge today explaining why his son should be allowed to come back home. He says that he's on disability and home for the next few months to keep an eye on his son. Can you talk about how difficult this has been for the family? Sutherland was on house arrest living with his father, but was picked up last night and brought here to the Orange County Jail, charged as an adult for manslaughter and battery. Hall is accused of beating another teen while on house arrest and under the law charged as an adult for both alleged incidents. Sutherland was not involved in that incident, but prosecutors decided to also charge him as an adult. Both were just 15 years old when Trindade was killed. Witnesses say it was Sutherland who threw that first punch. Detectives said Sutherland then had conflicting statements and in the end told investigators, quote, "If I knew I was the one who killed him, I couldn't live with myself." His attorney was able, however, to convince a judge that he should be out on bond.
The child has been in the community since January 4th. He's not a danger to the community. He's not a flight risk.
Sutherland has met all of his requirements. Even his probation officer testified to that. The attorney would not give us an idea on if bond would be posted. She told the judge that a high bond would be difficult. Again, that bond set at $7,600.
They're gonna be free, and I don't have my boy back. The school was great. Yeah. Why they do that? It surprised me because I was working in Macy's and my husband was at home. And Roger went with a friend, a father of a friend, to the Winter Park just for take a hamburger, walk, and he's going back. Of course, it's different here. You have a little bit freedom than Brazil because Brazil is very dangerous. But all the time, Rogers call me, say, "Mommy, I'm here. I'm in the friend's house. I'm in the pool. I'm in the school." All the time. I know him. I know where he was. All the time. I think it was a bullying. They used to do this, the bullying in the Park Avenue. I think they have to stay in the jail and show the society what you can do. You can do this. You can go up to the street and do bullying. You have to be an example. And the worst thing is I'm gonna pay more than these boys and these parents, for sure. Because I'm gonna remember my son. Every day.
Roger Trindade was an important part of Winter Park High School. We as a school and community mourn his death, and we cherish the days he was with us. Roger was well liked and brought joy and happiness to many. Mr. and Mrs. Trindade and their daughter are absolutely wonderful people. They wanted this event to continue because they wanted you, the students of Winter Park High School, to have this annual event. I was moved when I first spoke with Roger's father. He was concerned that some people were angry at what happened, and he did not want to see any more bad things happen to anyone. Roger's father asked me to share that if people were angry, that the family requested to not act on that anger. Together, we honor Roger, and we are thankful that he was a part of our school and our community. Our hearts are sad.
Olá, meu nome é Roger Trindade e meu trabalho aqui é convencer Pipo Castney a vir para a Flórida. Então eu vou te falar todos os prós e cons, né, que vir para para a Flórida. Os pontos positivos e os pontos negativos. Os pontos positivos é que aqui tem muita segurança, entendeu? Tu pode sair na rua a hora que tu quiser, quando tu quiser. Tu pode sair na rua na hora que tu quiser, quando tu quiser, sem nenhum problema. Tu não vai ser assaltado, não precisa ficar se preocupando com isso. Essa sensação é muito boa, eu posso falar isso. Outra coisa boa aqui, a escola, ela é muito legal. Tu não tá entendendo, ela é muito massa. E também, tipo, por exemplo, no Brasil, tu conhece todo mundo na tua escola. Aqui não, aqui é diferente. Aqui tem, tipo, sempre mais gente pra te conhecer. E... porque geralmente aqui eles não fazem, tipo, negócio de cidade. Tu conhece todo mundo de todas as cidades. Então é muito legal. E aqui também tem a Disney, tem a Universal. Tem todos os parques que tem aqui que tu pode visitar. Mano, eu vou quase pelo menos uma ou duas vezes por semana, quer dizer, por mês na Universal. Então, tipo, é muito massa, é muito massa. Ponto negativo que tem aqui é que não tem muito brasileiro, né? Mas tu se adapta muito bem, tu aprende inglês, é muito rápido pra te se adaptar.